feels so amazing just to glorify my God. Can't nobody tell me nothing, it's what I was made for. I'ma do it while I'm able till I can't get till I die. Whether I eat or I...
We do this for the kingdom. Fringes swaying in the wind. Slap you every time I spin. Repent or die up in your sins. Repent. But them saints will gon' win. Go to the hood and bring it out. Bring it out. We ain't scared of you sinners. Most high working with us. Most high working with us. Bring it out, bring it out, bring it out. Go to your hood and you know that we cry loud. Bring it out. Past the high.
Well, now it's time to discuss the spirit of Elijah. Around 870 BC, in the book of 1st and 2nd Kings, we hear about the prophet Elijah. And this was no ordinary prophet. The power of God rested upon him. When the kings of Israel disobeyed God, Elijah would come onto the scene and whip them into shape. When King Ahab committed idolatry, Elijah was given power to stop the rain and cause drought. Elijah was also given power to heal. There was once a woman whose son had died, and Elijah prayed over the child, and the child came back to life. At one point, Elijah was sitting on a hill, and 50 troops came to him. Elijah called down fire from the sky and burned them all up. And then another group of 50 came to him. He called down fire from the sky again and burned them up. Elijah had an interesting type of anointing. This is why many refer to him as a warrior prophet. Some prophets just deliver a message. Elijah, on the other hand, delivered a message as well as the wrath of God. Now, why is this significant? Well, the book of Revelation says that the witnesses of God will call down fire from heaven in the end times. And it says the witnesses will stop the rain. And so many theologians argue that the same type of prophetic anointing and power that was on Elijah seems to be the same type of prophetic anointing that will be upon the witnesses. You see, anointings can be transferred. Okay, let's look at something. So, Elijah was a prophet of God who had an extreme anointing of power. Now, Elijah had a devoted follower named Elisha, okay? And in 2 Kings, Elijah and Elisha were walking along a road. And as they were walking, Elijah turned to Elisha and told him that the time for him to go to heaven had come. And Elisha was devastated. You know, he loved Elijah. He didn't want Elijah to leave. And Elijah basically let him know that he wasn't about to die, but God was going to come and take him into heaven while he was alive. This is not something that normally happens. And so before Elijah was taken to heaven, he took off his coat, his mantle, and he struck the water with it. When he struck the water, it parted from one side to the other. And then both Elijah and Elisha walked to the other side of the land.
I'll never be able to do what you do. You will, Elisha.
And after that, Elijah turned to Elisha, lets him know that he's about to go to heaven. And before he goes to heaven, he says, Elisha, I'm going to give you one final request to ask of me before I go. And so look at how the conversation goes in 2 Kings 2:9. Ask what I shall do for you before I am taken from you. And so here in this moment is Elisha's big chance to ask for anything from Prophet Elijah before he goes to heaven. Like, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. Just ask. So let's see what Elisha asks for. And so Elisha says, please let there be a double portion of your spirit on me. Wow. Elisha could have asked for anything, but he says, Elijah, whatever is on you, whatever type of anointing is on you, please let me have it, and a double portion of it, because I want that type of power. He makes this request, right? He wants a double portion of Elijah's spirit. And after he makes that request, then out of nowhere, just a chariot of fire comes. A whirlwind picks Elijah up and he's carried to heaven. And you can just picture Elisha looking up like, well, I guess that's it. My friend is gone. My master's gone. But as Elisha's looking up, he notices that Elijah left something behind. You see, as Elijah was ascending to heaven, he left behind his coat. So Elisha picks up the coat. Now remember, Elisha has no power, right? He's a follower of Elijah, but he has no power. He's not really known as a powerful person at this point. But he sees that Elijah left behind this coat, this mantle. So Elisha, he picks it up. And when he picks it up, it's like he's thinking, okay, let me just try something here. Because remember, Elijah had hit the water with the coat, and then the water parted from one side to the other, and they both walked through. So Elisha grabs the coat, and it's like he's saying, okay, let me try something here. So Elisha then hits the water with the coat, and just as Elijah did, the water parted, and everybody saw it. Jaws dropped. And when people saw this is what they said in 2 Kings 2:15. The spirit of Elijah rests upon Elisha. Elijah left behind his coat. And when Elisha got the coat, his mantle, he was clothed in the spirit of Elijah. Now, this is pretty cool. So Elijah goes to heaven. He leaves behind his coat. Elisha picks it up. Now he has the spirit of Elijah. But remember, the spirit of Elijah is not just any type of anointing. No, the spirit of Elijah is a warrior for God anointing. Okay. So if you have that type of anointing that comes upon you, that's kind of a big thing. So let's look at what Elisha did after he was clothed with this type of anointing. So in 2 Kings chapter 2, shortly after Elisha received this empowerment, he immediately just started operating in the gift of healing. Verse 22 says that Elisha spoke to the land and he spoke to the water, and he healed it so that it became fruitful. So he immediately had some type of power with that. And then as he continued to walk along this road, something interesting happened as he was walking. Take a look at this. 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 23. So from there, Elisha went up to Bethel. And as he was walking along the road, some boys came out of the town and jeered at him. They said, "Get out of here, Baldy. Get out of here, Baldy." And then he turned around, looked at them, and called down a curse on them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the boys. Let's look at this. Let's kind of talk about this here. Okay, so Elisha, he's walking on this road. Some boys come out of this town. I guess they don't like bald guys. Hey, they're making fun of him because he has a bald head, okay? And they said, "Get out of here, Baldy." He didn't like that. He knows that he has the spirit of Elijah on him. He calls a curse on him. 2 bears come out. The boys get torn up. I don't know if they died. I don't know. But there's 2 things we can learn from this. Number 1, clearly Elisha was bald, and he didn't want to be made fun of about that. He wasn't having it that day. Okay. Number 2, Elisha had the power to not only heal and prophesy, but he had the power to punish. The point is this: when someone is operating in the spirit of Elijah, don't make them mad. That's a warrior spirit. You don't want to mess with someone who is operating in that type of anointing. Elijah, remember, Elijah called down fire from heaven to destroy 50 soldiers, and then he did it again. Elisha had bears come out of the woods. The spirit of Elijah anointing, it doesn't play. The question is there any indication that the anointing or spirit of Elijah can still cover people today? Well, let's look at what Malachi says. In Malachi chapter 4, it says that before Jesus returns, or really before the Lord comes, Elijah would return. Look what it says, verse 5. See, I will send the prophet Elijah to you.
If you enjoyed this video in its entirety, please like, subscribe. The description down below will have the original link and the full video. Just wanted to give you a taste. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you. And like I said, I repeat, if you want to watch the full video in its entirety, it will be in the description down below.